Kev, Raisin Man.
All right, so as you heard, he said he did not trust Brian Daboll with either one of the quarterbacks or John Mara letting Joe Shane select one of these quarterbacks coming up, and I kind of agree with him. But after that last game, I'm quite sure both of them will be back. But we're going to talk about a little bit about the Giants' black history. Now, this is going to be a controversial subject. These two brothers, they're not running, they're not hiding, they're ready to talk. And let's talk about it, man. The Giants' black quarterback history. I'm gonna let you guys start it off. I'm gonna let you guys talk. Y'all talk. Yeah, doesn't exist. You know, NYG, you went last, so E, you know, kick it off. Kick us the actual factuals, as you say.
First, we're going to go into the black quarterback history. There is none. There is no black quarterback history unless there was a free agent or if I'm not mistaken, I don't know the year and I don't want to get the year wrong, but I think it was 1996, maybe. I think it was Andre Brown in the 4th round. Somebody can fact check me. But the New York Football Giants have never drafted an Aboriginal quarterback in the 1st round, which is starting to give a lot of people some thoughts, especially after last week's win, right? This Sunday's win against the Indianapolis Colts put the New York Football Giants right now in 4th place, which have fans fearing that another loss, which will drop us down to, I think, either the 8th or 9th spot, is purposely done. Now, my mindset doesn't really go that far. But there have been things controversial in the past on John Mara's watch and also within the organization that allows people to feel that we actually are rooting for a racist organization and that this past weekend was a purposely done act so we do not have to choose an Aboriginal quarterback at 102. Now, these are not my words, but these are things that the fans are saying. These are things that are buzzing around us. And that's why we're having this Talk Your Talk. And there's a lot of controversy swirling these comments. So I'm here to add some context to these type of conversations. And my brother is here to add the advocacy on both sides. And we're going to get to the meat and potatoes and the heart of this matter, whether you agree or disagree. But there's going to be a conversation about it, and we're here to have it. Over to you, NY.
Yeah, that quarterback you speak of was Andre Woodson, and he was drafted in 2008. Thank you. But yeah, it's been, never for the New York Giants. Now, here's what I want to talk about as well. It's not just the black quarterback, so to speak. It's the fact that, the Giants have never had a black coach. As far as I know, they have one general manager who everyone scapegoats as the worst general manager the Giants have had since even now over Dave Gettleman. And it's just the face, you know what I'm saying? The face of the franchise has never been black, so to speak. You know what I mean? Now, people will say, well, Saquon Barkley was a running back. Odell Beckham Jr. was a wide receiver. Everyone and their mama know that the quarterback is the one who gets the most attention on the football team. Therefore, by de facto, he is normally the face of the franchise.
Right.
You know, and in other situations, it's the head coach, like with Pittsburgh, with Mike Tomlin. You know what I mean? The Giants don't have either. You know, so, and haven't had either. And they continue to bark up the Belichick tree, you know, which is also suspect. You know, they continue. It's like this franchise, they're not feeling the vibe of their own team. They don't have a pulse on their own team, on their own fan base, on their own market. You know, so it's beyond even what's on the football field. You know, the Giants are stuck in the 70s as an organization. They just hired Joe Shane, who is analytical, and everybody hates this guy. But guess what? The Eagles use analytics. The Chiefs use analytics. All these teams use analytics, you know, which everybody complained about with Dave Gettleman.
Right.
You know, so why is it that the Giants as an organization stay in that place? Now, it's not just about the color of the person. It's about the person. You know, you had an opportunity to hire Brian Flores. You had an opportunity to hire Louis Riddick. You know, those guys didn't get those jobs. Those jobs went to Dave Gettleman, who some say is one of the worst ever. And who? Brian Dable, who everybody ran out of town right now. So it's not even about the color. You picking the wrong people. And on top of that, you're overlooking candidates because of image. Go ahead.
So let me ask you two brothers something to get, let's get a little deeper. There's things that's called racism, and then there's things that's called preference.
Right.
There is a difference. Racism is pure stupidity. It's pure, I hate you because of the color of your skin, and I don't want you around me because the color of your skin, or whatever denomination you are, whether you're black, white, if you're just going against those people because they're just a different race from you, that's pure stupidity and dumb. Preference is like a prejudice. It's still ignorant, but it's just like you don't want to give that person a chance because you have your preference of what you believe is right. As far as, let's just talk about it, what we're talking about, the quarterback position. Everybody knows that the New York Giants, their main fan base is the older white gentleman. Let's just keep it real. The older white gentleman is going to be dominant in this Giants fan base. And there's a lot of guys that, they would try to hype up other quarterbacks like a Drew Aller or Nussmeier or Jackson Dart, is because it's just their preference. It's just what they've seen. They've went from Phil Simms to Hostetler to Kent Graham to Dave Brown to Kerry Collins, Kurt Warner, Eli Manning, all these type guys.
Right.
And you can say that's what they're used to. That's what they believe is right. Then you have the racism guys that don't want him because of the color of their skin, which is stupid. And the guys that are on the preference side, they don't want any part of Deion Sanders for whatever reasons they have. He's too loud or he's too involved. So I want you guys to talk about, do you think it's more racism or do you think it's more preference?
Okay. Well, I want to be able to touch these subjects because they're very, very, very sensitive. So I want to rule out some of the things that people may say. How is it that we are a racist organization with these accomplishments. Now, I'll bring up three. In 1948, the Giants actually took a defensive back named Emlyn Tunnell.
I'll play it like Willie Mays. A perfect catch.
Quarterbacks at the time talked about Tunnell was one of the best at faking his intentions, disguising his intentions. The quarterback would wait all day, see that Tunnell didn't seem to be spending a lot of time over in a certain area of the field, and throw there and get burned for it. Bobby Lane called Tunnell the best in the business at that. Because of that, he was incredibly successful at not just stopping the other team, but changing games.
1952, Emlyn Tunnell had more combined yards on kick returns and interceptions than the Giants' top running back did rushing.
Drops into the waiting arms of Emlyn Tunnell, and he does what the New York fans have been hoping for all afternoon as he dodges away from the outstretched hands of the Eagle defenders to romp 72 yards behind good blocking, adding another brilliant run back to his record and a touchdown to the New York side of the scoreboard.
He did the thing that coaches tell their players over and over again: get the ball and run it. There was not a lot of hesitating and jitterbugging. Tunnell got the ball and found the hole and ran to daylight.
Sidestepping a full-line charge, Emlyn Tunnell takes the ball on the 26. He jumps on the tape, on stretched ice hooks, and punching like a ballet dancer on a crate of eggs, he skates all the way to 74 yards over a sheet of ice for a Giant touchdown.
Right? You guys may have heard that name before, right? He was actually the first black defensive back taken, right, in NFL history, and he's also the first black Hall of Famer, right? Mm-hmm. So that speaks volumes for a fan base when back in 1948, we all know what was happening. World War II was just coming to, and then it was a lot of prejudice, racism. The country was in turmoil. So for a sports organization back then to take a chance on a defensive back in Emlyn Tunnell, and then him becoming the first black Hall of Famer in NFL history, speaks volumes. Then in 1976, guess who was hired? Someone who's actually here till this day. The actual first black physician in NFL history, Ronnie Barnes, who's with us today, right? First black athletic trainer in NFL history, and he's with the team today. Then guess who else? Who NYG have formerly mentioned in 1994? Guess who we hired? Jerry Reese, the very first black executive to ever win a Super Bowl. General manager in NFL history. So those are the pushback things that someone will mention in our black history for a team which is now looked at as racist in certain areas, or that topic has come about. But let's talk about preference. Pat, you mentioned preference is the stupidity of racism, right? There's a problem when preference becomes ignorance, which allows it to become racism. But racism is embedded in you, so it continues on, which allows you to have a certain preference. Now I'm going to reference that by saying this. Do you guys remember the Colin Kaepernick issue? If you don't, I will remind you, right? John Mara came out of his face during the Colin Kaepernick issue. When Colin Kaepernick became a free agent in 2016, and he started to kneel due to systemic racism, It was his way of protesting. It caught on around the league. A lot of teams definitely backed their players. And it was very controversial. I think everybody who knows sports history knows about this act, right? Which actually eventually didn't allow Colin Kaepernick back into the league. Some say blackball, some say whatever they want to say. We call it exactly what it is. Blacklisting. John Mara had a conversation at that time. And I want to make sure I quote it correctly. He said, all my years being in the league, I never received more emotional mail from people than I did about the issue. If any of your players ever do that, we are never coming to another Giants game. This was 1 or 2 letters that he read off per quote from New York Giants fans. This is where preference plays the biggest role. As an owner, do the fans dictate the players that you bring onto your team? Or as an owner, does an owner show face by doing exactly what's right? That is a question that anybody could answer when they get that question or they heard me say it. In my mind, this was the very first strike of a chord of Aboriginals that were New York Giants fans that allowed us to take a look at John Mara past the imagery. It opened up a deeper issue and thought process for us all because he was speaking about a subject he was never asked about, and Colin Kaepernick at that time was not even thought about. We had Eli Manning, Geno Smith, and Josh Freeman, I think, on the roster at that time as the 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So we already had a team with 3 QBs we were carrying. Why would John Mara open up his mouth about fan mail on a controversial, emotional subject when America just happened to be glued to their TVs, glued to their radios, and in an emotional state of panic as African Americans were being killed all around the country with systemic racism? Food for thought. It was a preference, which derives from racism.
Okay, I literally forgot all about that. I do remember him speaking on the whole Colin Kaepernick situation when it was going down. I forgot about him reading off the emails from, like I said, those older white gentlemen who pretty much pay the bills for the New York Giants. Let's keep it real. And said, if you bring that whatever that was to the New York Giants, we will never come back again. And I do remember that part. That was good stuff, and that's really eye-opening. So that shows you that there is a preference here with the ownership, not just the older white fans or the ownership. He's the reason why they have that mindset. To be honest with you, like NYG always says, you got to look from the top to the bottom, and you look at the top first. Yeah, we can dig a little deeper into it, man.
Let me say something real quick, Pat. So when we talk about racism, I want people to understand this. Racism is about power. You know what I mean? That's why I always say what Pat just said, you got to start at the top down. Everybody looks at this quarterback situation as the Giants being racist. No. You got to look at the organizational structure of every NFL team. There's very little black coaches, very little black general managers, and no black owners. It's not the Giants y'all are mad at. It's the NFL. That's number one. Number two is, look, it is about preference. And the fans do dictate what John Mara does a lot of times. I've been one to say this on a number of occasions. It's a reason why they brought back Daniel Jones. It's a reason why they've never had a black head coach or black quarterback. There's reasons for all these things. And it does start at the top. You know, the fans and the media are involved. The media is used as a voice for John Mara. This is why you have random media members coming out defending a head coach and a general manager that had 2 wins at the time. When in any other situation, they would be calling for these guys to get fired. It all comes from the top. Stop being fooled to thinking that the quarterback is the most important thing, that the Brian Day was the most important thing, or Joe Shane. It is a John Mara issue. It's a John Mara issue. And he has a huge seat at that NFL table. So a lot of times he gets what he wants. And if he don't want no, you know what? Guess what? Ain't no you know what gonna be the quarterback of the New York Giants. But now there's a different spin. Because as I mentioned, the NFL as a business is evolving. You can't get away with that mentality like that no more. You're gonna get called out. You're gonna get put on blast. You're gonna lose money, dog. So again, it ain't about the old school football, running the ball and, you know, playing this good defense and all that. It's about your organizational structure and what you're promoting to your fan base. What you're promoting to your fan base is an organization that would do anything out of their power to avoid taking a black quarterback. How many people you think signing up for that? Except those old dudes. And guess what, John Mara? They don't live forever, dog. Eventually, you're gonna have to turn it on over to the new generation and get with the program. Go ahead, man.
I want to